Hey, it's Rick, and Hollywood just pulled the same tired crap they always do. A movie flops, and instead of looking in the mirror, the industry grabs the nearest scapegoat and beats the hell out of it. This time, that scapegoat is Henry Cavill. Guy Ritchie's new film, The Union, tanked at the box office. Hard. We're talking $3 million opening weekend against the budget somewhere between 40 and 70 million. Yeah, that kind of math doesn't work for anyone. Now, here's what's interesting. The film also starred Jake Gyllenhaal. It was directed by Guy Ritchie, a guy with an actual cult following. And yet, every single hit piece that dropped after the numbers came in pointed directly at Henry Cavill. Not Ritchie, not the script, not the marketing budget that apparently nobody spent. Sites like MovieWeb ran pieces calling him, and I'm barely paraphrasing here, not a box office draw, and calling this film the final nail in his financial coffin. The final nail for a movie that also had Jake freaking Gyllenhaal in it? Look, I'm not here to pretend Cavill's recent filmography has been a string of financial home runs. It hasn't. Argyle cost $200 million and barely scraped past the 100 at the box office. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, decent reviews, terrible returns. And now this. So yeah, the numbers are the numbers. That part's fair. But what's not fair is conveniently ignoring that every single one of these films was an original concept. Not a sequel, not a reboot, not Marvel Episode 47. In a Hollywood that bets everything on pre-existing IP, where franchise recognition is basically the only metric studio suits care about anymore, trying to sell audiences something brand new with a big name attached is a massive gamble. And when that gamble doesn't pay off, the system doesn't blame itself, it blames the face on the poster. That's not film criticism, Rick. That's a coordinated takedown. And we're just getting started. To understand why the industry is gleefully dancing on Cavill's so-called grave, you have to go back a few years. Because this isn't really about box office numbers. This is about a guy who refused to be what Hollywood needs its stars to be. Quiet, grateful, and completely controllable. Let's talk about The Witcher first. Cavill wasn't just some actor who got cast and showed up to read his lines. He was a genuine fan. He'd read the books, he knew the lore, he cared about getting it right. And that, apparently, was the problem. When the writers started drifting from Andrei Sapkowski's source material, taking creative liberties that ranged from questionable to just flat-out disrespectful to the original work, Cavill pushed back. He called it out, repeatedly. And Netflix, along with the showrunners, decided they didn't need that kind of energy on set. So what happened? The writers kept writing whatever they wanted. The executives kept nodding along. And Cavill, the guy who was the entire reason millions of people tuned in, walked. They framed it as his choice, but let's be real. When an entire production apparatus quietly unites against one person, that's not a resignation. That's a forced exit dressed up in PR language. And then came the DC thing. Oh man, you remember this, right? Cavill made that announcement. Superman is back, baby. The fans lost their minds. For a brief, beautiful moment, it felt like the DCEU might actually get its act together. And then James Gunn walked in, looked at everything that was already set up and said, nah. Cavill was out, just like that. No real explanation, no courtesy, just thanks for the announcement, now please clear your desk. And look, Gunn has every right to build his own universe with his own people. That's the gig. But the way it was done, letting Cavill make a public announcement, letting the fan base go absolutely nuts, and then pulling the rug out days later, that wasn't a creative decision. That was a power move, a very public message to the rest of the industry about who's actually running things. Most actors would have gone quiet after that, smiled for the cameras, waited for the next call from their agent. Cavill didn't. He turned around, walked straight to Amazon, and negotiated a deal not just as an actor, but as a producer and a creative force behind Warhammer 40,000. And that is what really pisses Hollywood off. He didn't beg, he didn't apologize, he just built his own table. And we'll talk about exactly what that means and whether it's actually going to work right after this.
So here's where things get genuinely interesting. While Hollywood blogs are busy writing Cavill's professional obituary, the man himself is doing something almost nobody in his position has ever done. He's building something on his own terms. The Amazon deal for Warhammer 40,000 isn't just another acting gig. Cavill came in as a producer, as a creative stakeholder, as someone with actual say over what ends up on screen. And he immediately made it clear this wasn't going to be another "let's just vibe and see what happens" production. Enter the 3 strikes rule. Here's how it works. If a writer on the project produces something that contradicts the established lore of the source material, Cavill flags it. Strike 1. They get a chance to fix it, to actually go read the damn source material, to show some basic respect for the universe they were hired to work in. Strike 2, same deal. Final warning. Strike 3, you're off the project. No debate, no committee meeting. Gone. And it's already happened. Multiple writers have been shown the door under exactly this system. Now, in any normal creative workplace, this would just be called maintaining quality control. In Hollywood, it's apparently revolutionary. Because the system is built on relationships, on favors, on nepotism, on the unspoken rule that you don't fire your buddy's writer just because he didn't read the lore Bible. Cavill doesn't care about any of that, and it terrifies them. There's also something else worth noting here, something the hit pieces conveniently ignore. Cavill's social media presence is massive. His fanbase is fiercely loyal. Warhammer fans, one of the most dedicated and notoriously hard-to-please communities on the entire internet, are already treating this man like a savior. Not because of marketing, not because Amazon bought them a bunch of ads, but because they genuinely believe Cavill gives a damn. And that kind of trust, you cannot buy that. You cannot manufacture it. You cannot spin it into existence with a coordinated press campaign. Hollywood can flood the internet with 1,000 more articles calling him box office poison. They can't make people stop believing in him. Only he can do that if Warhammer drops and it's garbage. And look, I'll be straight with you. The recent track record at the box office is real. The guy needs a win, a legitimate, undeniable, nobody can spin win. Highlander could be that. Warhammer could be that. Or they could both miss, and then the obituary writers will have a field day. But here's what I know for sure. The reason Hollywood hates this guy isn't because he keeps losing. It's because he refuses to play by their rules, and that scares the hell out of them. I'm Rick, this is Film Flop, and we'll be watching very closely. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like if you think Cavill deserves better. Subscribe if you want the truth without the studio spin. We out.